Level 1. $0. You're the help. You don't know that yet. You think you're her date. You're 23. You have $41 in a credit union account and a girlfriend named Danny, who is 2 leagues out of your zip code. Her coworker got her invited to an investor party on a rooftop in uptown Charlotte, and she brought you along. So here you are, in a blazer from Goodwill cut for a man 4 inches wider, trying to look like you belong in her future. In 20 years, the richest man on this roof will sit across a desk from you and beg you for $900 million. Tonight, he's trying to take your girlfriend. His name is Marcus. He runs his family's fund. Gucci loafers, no socks in November because cold is a poor person problem. He walks straight up to Danny like you aren't standing next to her and starts telling her about his villa on Lake Como. Then he half notices you and decides you're staff. He holds out his coat and folds a 20 into your hand without looking at your face. Keep the change, champ. Keep the change. Like a coat has changed. You take it. You actually take it. That's the part you'll never forgive. So you stand there holding his cashmere coat while he makes your girlfriend laugh. She catches your eye and gives you the look, the one that means don't make this weird. She leaves with his number. You leave with his 20. Down by the valet stand, an old man in grass-stained Red Wings and a $12 Timex watched the whole thing. He's not feeling sorry for you. He's deciding something. In a minute, he's going to hand you a business card. Level 2. $50,000. You're the crew. 3 days later, you call the number on the card he pressed into your hand by the valet stand the night the girl you love left with a better-dressed man. The card doesn't say lawn. It says Earl Dorsey, and a phone number worn soft from being handed out. Earl answers on the second ring, chewing something, and tells you to be at a lot in Matthews at 6 in the morning. He starts you at $14 an hour on a mowing crew. 30 lawns a day in the Charlotte summer, which is not heat. It's a wet towel God holds over your face from May to September. By Friday, the blisters have split and gone hard. The people whose lawns you cut do not see you. One woman in Ballantyne sets a single warm bottle of Aquafina on the step. For the help, she says, and goes back inside. She kept the cold ones for people who matter. You drink it anyway. You feel the 20 in your wallet, and you understand she and Marcus priced you at the exact same number. Here's what nobody tells you about being invisible. You can hear everything. The wife on the patio reading her sister the divorce numbers. The husband on a riding mower he pays you to use. The lawn guy has ears the lawn guy just doesn't count. Invisibility is the first thing they ever give you for free. So you stop watching the grass. You start watching the trucks. The routes are built by zip code. Almost alphabetical. Crews drive past 3 jobs to reach a 4th, then double back. You time it for a week on your cracked phone. 90 minutes a day per truck spent driving to lawns you already passed. 40 trucks. You do the math on a napkin in the Bojangles drive-thru, and the napkin scares you. You corner Earl at 6 in the morning by the equipment shed. He's loading a mower himself, a man worth $60 million in Dickies and Red Wings that cost more than the mower. He doesn't take the napkin. He says, "Show me with 1 truck," so you do it for free. 2 weekends, resequencing 1 cruise route by drive time instead of address. The crew thinks you're insane. The crew also gets home 90 minutes early. That truck does 38 lawns in the time it used to do 30. Earl runs the number himself, in pencil, on the back of your napkin. Reroute the whole fleet in Green Line saves $310,000 a year. He looks at it a long time. Then he pulls you off the mower and puts you in a dispatch chair that did not exist until that morning, because Green Line had never needed one. "I started with 1 mower and a dead man's truck," he says. "Bought it off a widow in Gastonia for $60. 40 years later, I've got 400 trucks and a leak I couldn't see, because I was too busy cutting grass to watch the trucks." He taps the napkin. "You watch the trucks. You wait for the part where this is a favor. It doesn't come. Most people want a job. You want to make them need you. I can build something out of that." He's already turning back to the mower. You're angry at the right thing. Don't waste it on the girl. You don't tell him about the 20. He was on that roof. The only other man up there nobody talked to. Eating shrimp by the valet stand because he'd rather stand with the cars than the people. You go home to a 1-bedroom in East Charlotte with a Food Lion rotisserie chicken, and you can't sleep. Not because of Danny. Because for the first time since the rooftop, a man with money looked at you and saw something worth building around. You're still worth $50,000 a year. You don't yet know the chair aisle just invented for you is the first chair of an empire, or that the man who built it is already running out of time. Level 3. $300,000. You're the operator. The routing system you built on a napkin now runs 400 trucks. Earl makes you operations manager $300,000 a year and 2% of the company. The first time the deposit lands, you stare at the comma like it's a typo. 18 months ago, a woman handed you warm Aquafina for the help. Now a supplier drives 40 minutes to buy you a $60 ribeye at Ruth's Chris. His name is Dale. He orders for both of you because at this level, a man who orders his own food is a man who can still be sold to. You've been eating cookout trays, $4.99, 2 sides and a drink, the best deal in the history of American capitalism. Now a man's buying you a steak the size of your forearm, and for 1 warm hour, you think this is what respect feels like. The respect costs 3%. You find it 2 days later, buried in the renewal, a price hike tucked inside a line about indexed material costs. The steak was a line item. At $300,000, people are nice to you the exact amount it profits them, calculated to the decimal. You sign a different vendor. Dale stops asking about your weekend. He doesn't even pretend to be hurt. That's the part that teaches you. Then comes the campus. 40 buildings off Tyvola. 1 corporate tenant, the kind of contract that doesn't go to a lawn company that still smells like two-stroke. The procurement manager keeps losing your emails. Politely, with apologies, for 6 weeks. Then you find out his brother-in-law holds the current contract. You don't call a lawyer. You rebuild the bid the way only your routing system allows shared crews, drive time sequencing, a price the brother-in-law physically cannot match without losing money on every cut. You win it on a number. Numbers don't have brothers-in-law. The day you sign, Earl invites you to his house. You expected a mansion. It's a brick ranch in Mint Hill, a Buick in the carport, same $12 Timex. In the garage, under a tarp, sit 3 mowers, the first 3 he ever bought. None of them sold. Everybody thinks I'm in the grass business, he says, pouring coffee into a mug that reads World's Okayest Golfer. I'm not. I'm in the showing up business. People will pay anything to know that when they wake up, the thing that's supposed to be handled is handled. Whoever owns showing up owns everything. Hospitals, airports, whole cities. I just never got past lawns. You don't fully understanding yet. You write it on a napkin anyway. Showing up. You fold it into your wallet beside a 20 you still haven't spent. In the parking garage of the campus you just won, you pass Marcus. His fund Cobalt Capital leases the top floor. He walks past you in your green line polo, in a Loro Piana quarter zip that costs more than your paid-off Civic. His eyes slide over you exactly the way they did on the roof. 4 seconds for the people who matter. 0 for the people who don't. He still doesn't know your name. He has now failed to recognize you twice. You get in the Civic and sit for a second. You're worth $300,000 a year and 2% of a company worth more than Marcus thinks you'll ever touch. That night Earl calls you, which he never does. His voice is wrong. He coughs, and the cough goes on too long, and when it stops he says he needs to see you in the morning. You don't sleep again. This time it isn't excitement. Level 4. $800,000. You're the heir. In the morning, in the cab of his truck, Earl coughs blood into a handkerchief and folds it over like he's hiding a receipt. Stage 3. Pancreatic. 6 months on the bad end, 18 on the kind one, and Earl hands you the number the way he hands you every number. Flat. No cushion. 40 good years and a $12 watch, he says. Don't make a face. Green Line is worth a great deal of money, and Earl has no children. What he has is 2 ex-wives and a board of cousins who showed up to the hospital asking about the will like it was a church raffle. They've already found a buyer, a private equity roll-up that wants to fold Green Line into a national platform, cut the crews to part-time, and flip it in 5 years. The name on the term sheet is Cobalt Capital. Marcus is trying to buy the only thing you've ever built. He doesn't know you built it. He doesn't know your name. He found a profitable lawn company in his deal flow the way he found a coat to hand off, and he's reaching for it without looking. That's when your biggest client calls. The campus has heard Earl is sick. Their facilities director uses the phrase continuity risk. He means, if the old man dies, who cuts our grass? He's 90 days from putting it out to bid. You fly out the same day, coach, middle seat. A cold Bojangles biscuit in your bag because old habits keep you fed. You bring 1 sheet of paper. 99.4% on-time service across 3 years. Every route, every truck, time-stamped. You're not buying a man, you tell him. You're buying a system. The man taught it to me. The system doesn't get cancer. You keep the contract on a number. Again. When you tell Earl he's in a hospital bed with a tube in his arm and the Timex still on his wrist, he laughs until he coughs. Then he does something his lawyer fights him on for an hour. He sells you majority control of Green Line for $1 and a note against future earnings structured so the cousins can't block it and Cobalt can't touch it. I'd rather hand it to the angry kid who fixed my roots than sell it to the man who taught him to be angry. He signs with a hand that shakes. You sign underneath it. You now control a company worth tens of millions. Your own stake crosses $800,000 on paper. You feel nothing like rich. You feel like a man holding a dying man's life in both hands, trying not to drop it. That week, a letter arrives. It's from the bank that declined your $2,200 car loan for. Years ago, the one that quoted you 7.5% because of your zip code, which is the politest way anyone ever said a word they couldn't say out loud. Now the same letterhead congratulates you on your milestone and invites you to join their private client group. There's a phone number that skips the queue. You read it twice. At $0, a clerk sent you back to your seat because your ID had expired. At $800,000, a bank you never called wants to send a car for you. You didn't get smarter. You didn't get kinder. The number got bigger, and the number is the only thing they were ever reading. You put the folded 20 in the top drawer of the desk in the office that's yours now. You close the drawer. The money doesn't feel like a prize. It feels like something heavy that people can see from a long way off and are already walking toward. Level 5. $1 million. You're the client. Earl dies in spring on a Tuesday with the Timex on his wrist. You bury him in the grass-stained Red Wings. The cousins come in better suits than they wore to his hospital room and leave before the reception before the Bojangles trays you ordered for 200 people. Because that's what Earl would have wanted, and nobody touched them, because rich people don't eat in front of each other. You keep the 3 mowers in the garage. You don't sell those either. You control Green Line now, the majority in your name, the rest split among cousins who'd rather have cash than grass. The first thing the company does without Earl in it is make you a millionaire, a $1 million dividend recapitalization, money pulled out against the company's own strength. You sit with it and feel like a man who suddenly owes everyone Earl ever trusted. Then the treatment changes again. This time it floods. Her name is Priya, and she's your private banker. She doesn't email. She flies to Charlotte. The checking account that charged you $12 a month is now complimentary. A card you never applied for arrives by courier, a black Amex Centurion, titanium, so heavy it set off the metal detector at Charlotte Douglas, and you got pulled aside, because the one card that's supposed to prove you're safe is the one that makes them think you're not. A concierge line texts you. Anything you need, any hour. A car, a table, a reservation at the place in South Park that told you 2 years ago they were booked through the season. At $0, you couldn't get a clerk to glance at your expired ID. At $1 million, a stranger offers to send a car at 3 a.m. for a man she's met once. You keep waiting to feel chosen. What you feel is read the way a Harris Teeter scanner reads a barcode, fast, without affection, then lights up green. You learn the first rule of the room. Rich people never ask how much. Asking how much is how they find out you can't afford it. So you stop asking. You buy your largest regional competitor 400 more trucks for $4.2 million, financed at 3.9%. 3.9. 4 years ago, this same bank quoted you 7.5 on a Civic with 200,000 miles because of where you lived. The rate didn't drop because you became trustworthy. It dropped because you became worth keeping. You sign anyway. You say nothing. That's the tax on understanding how it works. You don't get to be surprised anymore. Priya closes the deal over a dinner you don't pay for. Near the end, loosened by a second glass of something French, she tells you something she probably shouldn't. You're not really a loan company anymore, she says. Bought logistics software onto this Roots cruise uptime. Every property on one screen, and you're not in landscaping, you're infrastructure. And people like us don't get to choose whether we do business with infrastructure. We just do. You go home and write one word on a napkin, the way you once wrote a route. Infrastructure. A week later, an invitation arrives. Embossed, hand-delivered, heavy as the black card. A rooftop investor party, the same kind of rooftop, maybe the same roof, your name on it, spelled correctly, with a pre-filled RSVP card, so you don't have to lift a pen. You've never been invited anywhere in your life. Now you're invited everywhere. You take the folded 20 out of the drawer, look at it, and put it back. Standing in your kitchen, you ask the question that will follow you up every level you have left. If the number went back to 0 tomorrow, would a single one of these people say one word to you? You already know the answer. You go anyway. Level 6. $10 million. You're the guest. You bolt the software onto Green Line, and in 11 months it stops being a lawn company. Routes, crews, uptime, every commercial property on one screen, sold as a subscription instead of a handshake. A growth fund buys in at an $80 million valuation. The slice you sell them clears $10 million in cash, the first real money that's ever been yours to keep, while you stay in the chair and keep control of the rest, and you walk back onto the rooftop. Same roof. 8 years later, they'd redone the bar. The host knows your name before you reach it. He says it like a password. A senator's aide asks for a photo. A man you've never met shakes your hand and says, "Marcus speaks highly of you," and you realize your name has become something people drop to get closer to someone else. You spent 23 years as nobody's reference. Now you're a door. A watch company has a representative here whose entire job is to clasp a Rolex Submariner onto your wrist for free 14 grand because if you wear it, other men buy it. Earl wore a Timex Ironman and built 400 trucks. You're wearing $14,000 to hold a club soda. A man named Tobias adopts you for the night. Patagonia vest over the dress shirt, the finance uniform, the way they recognize each other, like a gang with a quarter zip. He's funny. He's warm. He invites you to his place in the islands, to a thing we're putting together. For 3 hours, you let yourself believe you've made a friend at this altitude. The thing he's putting together is a fund. The ask is $5 million. The yacht was a sales floor with a horizon. When you tell him you'll pass, his warmth shuts off between one sentence and the next like a Belk at closing. He's gone before you reach the elevator. At $10 million, friendship arrives pre-invoiced. You just learn the price by declining it. You're standing alone with a drink you didn't order when the crowd shifts, and there he is, Marcus, older. Same cut of blazer rich men find one silhouette at 25 and ride it into the grave, and he crosses the room. To you! He shakes your hand with both of his. I've been wanting to meet you. We should do something together, real estate, logistics, there's overlap. 11 seconds of perfect warmth. You feel the exact second it ends, because his eyes lift half an inch over your shoulder toward a hedge fund guy by the bar, and the warmth slides off your face onto the next one without spilling a drop. He doesn't recognize you. He stood on this roof and folded a 20 into your hand and said, "Keep the change, champ," and left with your girlfriend, and none of it survived in him as a memory. Your worst night is his forgotten Tuesday. He's failed to recognize you 3 times now, and this is the first time you could afford to make him remember. You don't. The folded 20 is across town, in the top drawer of a dead man's desk. Marcus is close enough to smell your free Rolex, and he knows nothing. You watch him work the room with the same 11-second rhythm he used on you when you were worth nothing, and you understand the rhythm never changes. Only the length of the pause, and only by the size of the number. You leave early. You keep the watch. You drive home to the drawer. The boomerang is in the air now. You're the only one who can see it. Level 7. $1 billion. You're the name. Green Line's platform runs the grounds, the facilities, and the logistics for a quarter of the country's commercial real estate. Then you take it public. Your stake settles near $1 billion on the morning of the IPO. By that afternoon, the bank that once declined your car loan calls to ask if you'll sit on its advisory board. Unpaid. The seat is the salary. You both know it. The treatment at $1 billion isn't about money anymore. It's about access, and access doesn't come with a price tag. It comes as a door that was always locked, suddenly standing open, as if it had never been locked at all. A members club downtown that charges $250,000 to join waives your initiation as a courtesy and pours Macallan 25 like it's cheerwine. People stop introducing you by your job and start introducing you as a verb. You should get him in the room. You haven't paid for a meal in over a year. Every lunch is someone's investment. And a free lunch costs more than any check you ever signed. That's not a proverb, it's an invoice with a delay. At a closed retreat in the mountains, 40 people. No press. Phones surrendered at the gate. A treasury official asks you, on a hiking trail, what would make commercial logistics more resilient? You answer honestly. You describe more or less your own platform. 6 weeks later, the language shows up in a federal procurement standard. Earl's voice comes back across 20 years. Whoever owns showing up owns everything. You're no longer in the showing up business. You're the place everyone shows up to. The country reaches for what you built the way Marcus once reached for a coat without looking, because it assumes the thing it needs will simply be there. Held. Ready. Marcus is at the retreat. Cobalt Capital is wobbling a leveraged credit bet gone wrong. The kind that doesn't hit the headlines yet but rearranges a man's posture. He sits beside you at dinner and asks, warmly, about your journey. You give him the clean version. We need more guys like you in these rooms, he says. You hear from someone else that Danny, who married him in Napa, in a wedding you once saw photographed in a magazine, in a dentist's waiting room, left him 2 years ago. You wait for the heat, the squaring of a debt. It doesn't come. What comes is colder. You feel nothing because Marcus is no longer a man to you. He's a position. A counterparty whose book is going bad. The next morning your lawyer mentions, between 2 other items, that Cobalt Capital is quietly looking for a rescue investor. Before it becomes a story. You go home and open the drawer. The 20 is exactly where Earl's desk has kept it. Frayed at the crease now, soft as cloth. Keep the change, champ. 20 years ago that sentence was something done to you by a man who meant nothing by it. Now it's a sentence you get to say back. And you're the only person in the building who knows it's loaded. You stand there a long time deciding whether you'll ever say it out loud. And when. And what it costs to wait. You close the drawer. Not yet. Level 8. $10 billion. Your infrastructure. Your platform's revenue crosses into the billions and your stake crosses 10 billion with it. The bank doesn't sell to you anymore. It asks you to anchor its new fund to put your name on the first page so other money follows yours through the door. At $1 million, they sent you a car. At 10 billion, they need your signature more than you've ever needed their building. You employ 41,000 people across 19 states. You fly a Gulfstream now, which still feels like a costume you forgot to take off. That number 41,000 does something no marketing ever could. Regulators who used to send cease and desist letters now send calendar invites. A governor's office asks, very politely, whether you'd consider keeping a distribution hub in their state, and you realize you never asked them for a thing. They're negotiating against a threat you never made, because 41,000 jobs is a sentence no elected official wants to end. A deputy secretary of commerce flies commercial into Charlotte, a connection through Atlanta, a middle seat for all you know to talk to you about supply chain resilience. You offer him coffee. He thanks you twice. At $0, a clerk sent you back to your seat because your ID had expired. At 10 billion, the federal government books a connecting flight to come to you. This is the treatment money finally buys at the top. Not warmth, not access deference. The most powerful person in any room you enter quietly rearranges their evening around the possibility that you might want something. Nobody hands you a coat anymore. They hold yours. Then Cobalt Capital goes into freefall. A margin call. A fund freeze. Headlines with Marcus's face beside the word imploding. His people reach your people, except the message isn't from a staffer. It's from him. He requests a meeting, personally. His cell, no assistant in the thread. The loop you've carried in a drawer for 20 years finally has a date on the calendar. Your team has a plan, and the plan is clean. Cobalt's distressed assets can be bought for pennies on the dollar, through a vehicle that won't carry your name. Buy it, strip it, fold the good parts into the platform, let the rest sink. Pure business. They've already built the model. You tell them no. You tell them to clear your office for an hour. Just him and me. No lawyers. You take the folded 20 out of the drawer and slide it into the inside pocket of your jacket. It weighs nothing. It has never weighed nothing. The night before the meeting, you stand at your office window. Across the city and a lifetime down, you can see the Ballantine cul-de-sacs where you once cut 30 lawns a day at $14 an hour, back when a warm bottle of Aquafina was the whole of the thanks you got. You think about ERL's Red Wings in the ground, about Danny's look across a rooftop, about 4 seconds, and how cheaply a man can decide what you're worth, and how long it takes to make him do the math again. Tomorrow that man walks into your office because he needs you. You still don't know what you're going to do when he does. Level 9. $100 billion. You're the system. When the president says supply chain resilience in the State of the Union, you're the company nobody names. When Congress drafts a logistics bill, your legal team has read it before most of the members have. You don't lobby anyone. They come to you. The distance between a private company and the public good closed so gradually nobody can name the Tuesday it happened. Your stake crosses $100 billion. Marcus walks into your office with one assistant. You sit alone. You told them no lawyers, and a man worth $100 billion can turn a sentence like that into weather. He needs $900 million to keep Cobalt Capital from unwinding, and your public endorsement to keep his name from unwinding with it. He's thinner than the rooftop, same cut of blazer, polished, precise, and for the first time in 20 years deferential. He makes his case the way a man does when he's already rehearsed losing. He finishes with 5 words. We can't do this without you. The man who decided your worth in 4 seconds now needs you to decide his. You reach into your jacket and put the folded 20 on the desk between you. Frayed, soft, more than 20 years old. He looks at it. He doesn't understand. You gave me this on a rooftop in Uptown, you say. I was holding your coat, Gucci loafers, no socks. You said, keep the change, champ, and you left with my girlfriend. I don't remember that, he says. I know. His face doesn't do shame. It does arithmetic, the exact calculation of a man realizing a Tuesday he can't even remember has somehow become the most expensive afternoon of his life. You fund him. Not because he asked. Because the deal is good, the rescue routes through your platform anyway, and at this altitude refusing him would cost you more than saving him. You write the check that ends his free fall, and as you slide it across the desk, you tell him the only true thing you have left. At $0, they read you in seconds and priced you as the help. At 100 billion, they read you in seconds and price you as salvation. Both times, it took 4 seconds. Both times, it was never about you. It was the number. The warmth was always for the number. The contempt was always for the number. And the only thing that ever changed was the digit a stranger glanced at before deciding how to hold his face. You spent your whole life climbing toward the day people would finally treat you well, and the day came, and their kindness turned out to be a stock ticker that updates when your balance does. Marcus signs. He thanks you warmly, the 11-second warmth, except now it lasts exactly as long as you let it. He leaves. You keep the 20. Down the street, in the lobby of a tower whose grass you once cut yourself at $14 an hour, there's a green line plaque on the wall and a free terminal by the door. A 23-year-old in a borrowed blazer stands near the coat check, waiting for someone to hand him something to hold. A banker passing through calls him Sir, and means exactly as much by it as the world meant when it called you the help. The number is the only thing that has ever changed. You put the 20 back in the drawer. Subscribe if this one stayed with you.